Welcome to the KayaCast, the podcast for cannabis businesses looking to launch, grow, and scale their operations.
Glenn, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Tommy.
So you're calling out of the Bahamas. What's going on over there?
Well, the Bahamas is doing so much right now. Well, I, I, I might tell you that we are behind the ball in the cannabis industry, but we're making strides to be, I think, a thought leader in the region to be able to talk to our brothers and sisters on the import and export business. We just passed our legislation last year. Right now, we're waiting right now for our regulatory system to be enacted between government to be able to issue licenses. The bill is actually passed, so we
Mm.
are actually legal. We're legal in a medicinal
Oh
way.
wow. So medical cannabis is legal. What does that look like for entrepreneurs looking to get into the market?
Well, I will tell you this. For sure, we have a research development license for people. We have a processing license. Everything that the government wanted to do is keep everything, all growers in the Bahamas. They wanted it to be 100% for Bahamians. So, but and even laboratory license. So there are three licenses that I think the percentage actually ownership is 70-30. So anywhere between 70-30. So investor could invest up to 70% in a processing license, laboratory license, and a research license.
Oh wow. So say that again, laboratory, research, and
Processing.
processing. So what about on the consumer side, on the retail side?
So on the retail side, I mean, you still in actuality could do business with a Bahamian, but it's not. They don't want it to be solely investor, type. More of
Hmm.
they want to Bahamianize that. They wanted to make sure that it's in the hands and souls of Bahamian.
Got it. Wow. You're right. I mean, when I think about the Bahamas, I think about the Caribbean, I think about cannabis, and it's just getting legal now.
Yeah, and like I said, I've been traveling the Caribbean for about 3 years now, touching and agreeing with my brothers and sisters, talking to all the CEOs of the different authorities, like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados. I just left Antigua and Barbuda for 420. I was down there. They had an awesome conference down and concert with Chesedek. I know you know the song. He wrote a song called "Leave the Trees," and
Hmm.
all that it's about cannabis and the activist way of preaching to people: leave the trees alone and let the people grow it.
Hmm.
So it's a good thing. And actually, at July 11, I'm heading down to Trinidad and Tobago. They did legalize cannabis, but for years they still haven't have a regulatory system in place to be able to grant licenses and have the real legal shops up. So that's more of a now that they changed government, they just had a new prime minister elected who is pro cannabis. So this is a new look and this is a new feeling, or they're feeling that it could be a nice push right now for everything to be in place.
Mm. You've helped, so you're from the Bahamas, you're helping the government launch their medical cannabis program, but you've also dabbled in helping dispensaries and other cannabis businesses in the US launch.
Yes, yes, that's how I actually got started in the business. I was really just on vacation one time, and I met one of my business partners. His name is Hassan Burdex, from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it became about just like a normal friendship, but then not knowing his full story of him actually being locked up in 2002 for cannabis, and now turned a business owner in the cannabis industry and a dispensary owner, which is a great story of a full circle, in the industry. Uh, and we linked up with my other skills of being a marketer, and it transformed my life, being a guy behind the camera taking pictures, taking video photos, and it's like, hey, I need help advertising, I needed help pushing. Then it took upon me the love of cannabis in itself. And it made me wrote a book about cannabis years later. It made me dabble and travel the world for cannabis. So I mean, kudos to him. And in my book, I actually have him listed in the front as a dedication to him to allowing me to embrace this industry and do the things that I'm actually doing right now.
So what was your involvement in his journey?
Well, like I said, I was the eyes, I was the sexy. I brought sexy to cannabis in an educational way. That's how I got the name Wood the Cannabis Doc. It was not from me trying to be this person, but people saw something that I was doing in the space to be able to transform the mind and to understand cannabis in a relative way that we could actually ingest what like even a fifth grader could understand anything that we tried to expand in cannabis because we wanted to break the stigma. We wanted to find ways because many didn't know that we go in different areas and we learn our demographic, and from our demographic research we understand that it's not that much who are on that level to grasp so much. So you find different ways how to reach people and find ways at their level. So it was a collaborative effort, understanding, even going to the streets. And we've seen rehabilitation between guys who have been drug dealers who are now business owners. So this is the mindset. This is what we've been pushing. This is the community what we've been trying to embrace and show people that it can be a different. Cannabis is social change. And look, we got different ethnicity talking about cannabis, coming together talking about cannabis. And that's where all the passion came from, from all the journey. And now we're here. We're here, Tommy.
When somebody thinks about starting in cannabis, opening up a store, I feel as though they over index how easy it is because end of the day, who doesn't smoke cannabis? Who doesn't? Everybody knows cannabis, right? So the legalization of cannabis. There's an over indexing of how easy it is to start a business, sell cannabis, stay compliant. What were some of the challenges that you guys saw early on? Because you guys in Oklahoma's been legal
Ups
for
and
quite
downs.
some time.
A real and you know what? I We saw it in consistency. Consistency.
What do you mean by that?
We end up changing in staff and the level of education and detail into customer service. It dropped. I could say that it dropped. And as pricing for a product dropped, more people were able to, because you could grow in Oklahoma, self grow.
Mhm.
So, it started to get to a point where people started to get their own buds. And so now you had to be more crafty in what you was doing in your message. So between if you have a shaky staff already and, customer service is not at T, everybody ain't gonna come to your store no more.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, if you, why am I here if you're not trying to give me your best?
Yeah,
So
I see a lot of that's a very common challenge in the industry for sure. Because if you think about the turnover that we have, as well as where people are in their careers when they join, there's also a stigma too of sales associates joining the industry thinking it's going to be easy when it's actually quite hard. The SKUs are long. You have hundreds of products that you have to remember. Not only that, it changes by the week, and you have to really fundamentally understand the terpenes of
yes.
what you're recommending. So you saw a service dip. What happened? Can you talk a little bit more on you guys started. What was that journey like from getting a team in place to getting an A team in place?
Well, and that's the thing. So after the 18, it was many different personal problems happening. Right, this is around the pandemic time also.
Mm.
So we're trying to gravitate between what's happening from what's not happening. Um, and life just hits. And, that's one thing where even when I'm doing and interviewing a employee, I try to get to the soul because it's about really family. And I know that a lot of personal issues happen that we don't catch that affect the business, because what we teach is it's a effort that comes along with us. I mean, if what do you really want to do in cannabis? I mean, when that's the question you ask, if this
Mm,
cannabis your real end goal, like what's next in your life? Is this the end? And in doing that, it sets a precedent on knowing exactly how far this person wants to go in their career and how far they're willing to push for the company. So in doing that, it's just figuring out exactly how do we progress? How long do you think this person is gonna last?
mm. So
Because
you're
many
looking for people that want a career in cannabis versus this is a
yes,
job.
because guess what? At the end of the day, it turns in, hey, now that you tell me this, what product do you feel like what's your product? What's your dream? What's next for
Mm,
you in cannabis? Let's make that happen. Because that's our dream. That's our business. We want to have business to business work. It's not just about us winning in the cannabis industry because it's for everyone. So
mm.
that's the mindset in our employees. We want employees to have shares. We want employees to buy in because the more you buy in, the more you take care of what's yours.
Oh, interesting. I love that. It's you're talking about growth without really talking about growth, right? A lot of business owners, they make the misconception that, hey, growth means title, means salary. But that's the byproduct of actual growth.
There you go.
That's the byproduct. So your first litmus test was, hey, am I bringing on the right person culturally, and do they want a career in cannabis? Because if they don't, they're not going to fit in.
And see that was the thing, trying to find like-minded people like us.
Yeah.
Because before they came around, it just was us,
Yeah.
and the people wanted just us.
So how did you
And
flush through that? How did you flush through that? Hey, this person is
so
in the game.
so to be honest, again, you sometimes have to eat it. You sometimes just have to. Sometimes we close, sometimes we cut hours, depending on what it was, just trying to figure it out. Not always, I think I say this too, not putting all your bags in one, your eggs in one basket. Also, in doing that, we had different businesses that came up out of the cannabis industry,
Mhm.
in real estate for sure, building homes. So whilst the businesses suck, it sucked. It really, some days you look at the numbers and, dang, are
Yeah.
we gonna close? And to be honest, we had two stores. Also,
Yeah.
we added a store, and then we had to close that store because of location. We didn't do too much research in our demographics in that store, for that store. So that was a kind of hindering thing for that too. So we had to close down, and then we opened it back up last month in a new area. And
Mm.
that's now in a chiropractor office, which actually it's a kind of a win-win. It's a win-win.
Let's talk about this because for those that are listening that don't know, Oklahoma is the toughest state to operate. I would
Yeah,
rank
it is.
actually Oklahoma number one because you have what 4 million people in the in the state, and you have thousands of licenses. Like 2,000 licenses, 4 million people. You do the math, right?
Listen to me. You're gonna work hard. You're gonna work hard.
So
And
what are some of the things that you've learned in a market that's saturated? People can grow at home. Cannabis is cheap. What are
well,
some things that you've learned?
and doing that, to be honest, I go back to culture. To
Mm,
we do it to know that we want profit. Everybody wants profit. But when we understood this. Was the clean up mess with that. We had to regroup. We had to go on a sabbatical. We had to figure it out. What was going wrong? Because we
mhm,
just saw money keep on depreciating.
mhm,
What? But what was the problem? We had to really soul search, like really soul search, and figure out like, hey, is this what we really want?
mm,
And what are we really doing this for? And who are we doing this for? And understanding that. we have to bring it back to where it was. We already have a base, and we know what the base stood on. We know what the principle stood on. Customer service. We greeted everyone with a smile. You when you walked in the door, sometimes you walked in the door and you say, "Welcome to the Grill with Care," and the person they'll help, but they don't even come straight to you. They're going straight to the ATM. And it was a serious thing where people just entrusted us to give them the kind of medicine that made relief, that showed results. And that's what we did. That's what we paid attention to. Education. That's what we did in our lives, in our posts. We educated our customers, and that's what we missed. We wasn't doing that in the middle where it started sinking. We understood that we did not people who could initiate this type of talk, who could carry this dialogue to really dive into the healing and the properties of getting the right buds into the system, or the right topical into the system, or the right edible into the system.
Got it. So you've leaned really, really hard on educating budtenders on terpenes, on the biology, and on how our receptors take in cannabinoids, and in turn, they took care of the customers.
That's all. That's all we could ask for. You know, I got to run right here. Long stretch, but I forgot. I forgot to keep this near and dear in our new bud tenders because I wrote this book about 3 years after the dispensary. But I figured it's a small guide. It took you about a day to read. Takes you just a day to read. And in this guide now with our new bud tenders, each one gets a book, and I test them afterwards from the book because it's
Oh,
a basic guide now for me to say, hey, okay, you say you want to be in the space, let me know what you know. And we gauge them from there to know, okay, is this someone who could comprehend? Is this someone who could catch on? Is this someone who already knows so much about, cannabis?
okay. So walk me through your employee and customer experience because I'm fascinated. You guys probably have, and it sounds like you guys have a very, very high standard for customer experience. So what is your customer experience? What's the philosophy behind what you guys do?
Well, I mean, I travel the world. And in doing that, I get to see I get to see different walks of life, different demographics, different cultures. Oh man! And in doing that, I get to see things what people miss, and I take that and I digest that, and then I say, how could we be better? How could I have made that better? Because I want service. I want good service. I can't ask my people do something less than what I want. That it doesn't make sense. It really does. And so finding like-minded people who want to give themselves, because in order for that, you got to be a servant. Many of us, we dabble in this and we don't learn the word how to be a servant. In order to be that big boss and that leader, you got to know how to serve. And that's all it is. Lowering that pride, that ego to be able to learn how to serve the mass.
Hmm.
I mean, it is what it is, and you play your card until it's your name called because now you've learned you learn every process, every strategic plan on how to be this. Because guess what? That leader always needs that person right here. You can't be this without these people here. And
Hmm.
that was the mindset between me and Hassan. We understand that we lean it on each other. We leaned on each other. Nights of us in the house with the drawing board, just trying to drawing things out, trying to talk to each other. I mean, smoking blunts, trying to figure it out. And it worked. It
Yeah.
worked because we saw so much in this industry and we
So
still
wait,
see it today.
I want to get a glimpse into the war room because I understand, and I think a lot of our listeners do, when sales aren't coming in as fast as money that's coming out. That is a very, very, very daunting experience, right? And
Oh
that's a
man.
business experience. Business owners
Of
go through that. So
course.
when you came across that first hurdle, where you're like, hey, we had an idea. That idea is not reality right now. What did you hone in on, and what were your next 5 moves to get yourselves out of trouble?
I tell you that we we lost control of the wheel.
Hmm. Like
We,
why? What happened?
that's the thing. We entrusted our manager
Hmm.
to be able to own the business while we did other business, and in doing that, sank.
Got it.
It really did. And we have to learn, and that's what we did. We learned from our mistakes, and that's why I could say we rebranded the Greenwood Cure now. We rebranded Cannabis Jacks, and it's now doing what it's supposed to be doing back on the level. But we sank. We really
What
did.
were some of the mistakes that the the managers did that you're like, hey, why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense. Because you know what you mentioned, it's so common, particularly people that are coming into our space. Oftentimes, what I see is a state has a lottery, and maybe you'll have a nurse or you have a chiropractor or you have a lawyer, whatever it is. People just throw their hat into the lottery, right? They get the license. They're like, well, I'm not gonna give them my profession. I'm just gonna pool the money together. I'm gonna hire someone to run shop. Probably the worst idea possible because
Man.
that person, you're entrusting a lot of money into somebody else.
And that's the thing because you at the point where you like, man, I can't be here because I know that cannabis has so much for us.
Hmm.
You're making other moves in cannabis to be
Yeah.
able to make the business even more bigger than it is. And
Hmm.
so, you can't be locked down and hands on so much as you want to. And I mean, we always know the boss. You rarely want to see the boss around any. Yeah, it's cool to see the owner here and there, but yeah, that's what everybody wants. Hey, cool. We get a good discount on it. Yeah, and again, learning your
Yeah.
demographics. Everybody's family. Everybody knows each other. It starts to get too frenzy, and you just don't want to be there. You
Yeah.
just don't want to be there. So that's why you hire people. You try to, get different faces in there, get different people. And then sometimes you look at how I would say how does your demographic perceive the employee? How do they welcome the employee? It's people come in for the vibe. It's just not coming in there for the bud itself. It's experience. It's the
Hmm.
whole experience. And so, people want to know that someone is there who has their best interest, who values them, who they feel like they could talk to, because that's most of the time what happened in there. People came in there like the barbershop. People came in there to talk.
Yeah.
They came to spend some money with us, but they came to make sure that we got enough of that therapeutic
Yeah.
understanding in that brain first here to be in order to give us some of this. And
So
that's what
what?
we
So what were some of the changes that you made when you're in the war room? You come back to operations. What were some of the changes that you made?
well, again, we beefed up. What I think I wouldn't say it, no, I can't say it was a slack ship, but it just was a ship that we said, hey, if you tell me you ready to hold this key and you're ready to drive this ship, I'm gonna trust you.
Mm.
I want you to show me that you're ready to take this mantle. And it's giving people that trust to know that this is something that we want you to excel in. We don't want you to fail. We want you to be the best that you can. And so in doing that, we always give the opportunity for someone to be that person. So in that, just making sure that we tighten down and we pick, people, recipients of this in this industry that who actually want to be here. Because many people, even in that time when I say it was pandemic, a lot of people were going through a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, and in that pain, you just got people who are hurt, and they do anything, and their minds get contrary, and many things. Everybody who is not sold into the business gets to treat the business not like a person or like a girlfriend or boyfriend who you communicate and who would show compassion to. So the business
Hmm.
gets to be that side.
What does your training look like for employees?
Well, see, like I said, the new training now, it's more personal. It's more HR friendly. It's finding how do we understand the mind, the soul, the body as a human. And because again, you come into self, but I know we get into the mathematics and knowing how to open this cash register and knowing
Yeah.
how to read for sure. But it's more personality because we understand that everybody wants to be a part of something. And showing that you're willing and able to do what you want to do and be in the space, we're willing to help that.
I really do like, and I love that you mentioned your book. It's, it takes a day to read. You give employees that. It really gives them the foundation to understand the plant. And I don't see that enough in our industry. I see people that take shortcuts. They come in and they don't necessarily understand terpenes like they should, or and not understanding terpenes, you're relying now on your vendors really
And
too much.
so kind of that was the thing for me, the turning point for me, because in being a great salesperson, you want to have more pitch. You want to have more information initially before even knowing that, hey, this is the job. You need to know this job. But instead in being a good salesperson, you want to have more information to sell product. So in doing that, it was that me uploading different things to the website, me advertising. I had to figure out how do I influence the demographic at the same time by still educating them, also to bring them in for them to question us. So it was doing that. I was going to Leafly. I was looking at information. I was going to All Buds. I was whatever I could find on the web to figure out what does this bud, where does this bud come from? What's the parents? What's the terpene? Percentages to be looking out for. That was the drive. And when you get to read these different things that, oh, they actually have cannabis that help with losing weight? Like what? And it comes it's so interesting. And that's the euphoria about the whole thing.
Yeah,
You get how, like, really?
I was so I'm blown away by what we're finding with the cannabinoids, and I'm just blown away. I feel like this plant has so much to give.
So much. So much.
So
So
much to give.
much.
There's a misconception that you take this plant to for recreational, right? And that's it. But some people don't want to get high during the day, but they want to be healthier, and the plant can provide that too.
Yeah, I to that point, there are many people who say this, and I've heard this in theory, and as much as you get to travel, we as we get to understand cannabis, my theory to this is we all use it in a medicinal way, not knowing what we're really doing. And many who are educated could understand to a certain point on what ailments are healing, but many others who don't understand is still not knowing the powers that is actually good for and what it's actually using directly for in their body. But they love it.
Hmm.
And so bringing that education along with already knowing that cannabis do many things that they are liking and it's doing in their body with the information behind what it's actually doing, I think we could impact this nation, this generation, and have a revolution in cannabis and get it done.
Yeah. I want to go back to your experience in Oklahoma because I feel a lot of people can resonate with this. When did you find out that, hey, this location is for me? And, you stumbled upon your new location next to a chiropractor. I have really never thought of that, you know?
Well, that's the thing, being friends, and it was actually a thing where we just went to the chiropractor, and it was a morning routine where we probably try to do it like once a week, twice a week sometimes, and we grow a relationship with the owner, and he had some space, and we was talking here and there, but then It's like, hey, we don't really need a big room to supply cannabis. I think it's really less than 600 square feet, or probably even
Mhm.
more or less than that. And and we are in the same building where you could walk through the halls and you could turn into the dispensary, or from the outside you could enter the dispensary from there. So understanding that you have injured people, people who use cannabis, people who come in for racks, it was a no-brainer. It was a therapeutic facility in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really thought about that. That makes so much sense. It
Yeah.
makes so much sense. It's
And,
kind of
and
like,
somebody might pay us now for that idea.
yeah, a lot of pharmacies are next to GP, for example,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And this makes so much sense. We know a lot of cookie stores or a lot of bake shops, they position themselves next to cannabis shops, for example, or cannabis shops. If you have a cannabis shop in a complex that has a grocery store, like a supermarket, that's really good too. That's a really good
Figuring
spot right
figuring
there.
out your geographic, figuring out
Yeah.
where you be placed.
hmm Those are
So it
good
worked.
spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
In Oklahoma, it's so competitive. It's
tell me,
extremely competitive.
tell me. So you just actually spent more money on some radio ads, getting hot for the summer, trying to figure out different. And now that you got Facebook talking about Meta, being able to the restrictions on advertisement in medicinal cannabis, and we could see what now posting we could do, or what type of
hmm
sponsorship we could do. I,
Yeah.
I want to see how that looks this summer.
What is your inventory strategy being in a market like Oklahoma?
Well, we used to be we used to be a company that had about 30 plus strains on the in the shelf. We have dialed that very much down.
Yeah.
We have dialed it down, and understanding what the people want. They want cheap buds. They really want the best bet, the best deal they could get. You know, and I think that we do a good job at making sure that they have the great deals. I was actually just trying to pull up some of the good specials we got right now, because it's amazing. I tell you, when you know that you get some 3.5 of some fire for $15, it's reckless. It's really
Yeah.
reckless and unbelievable. I tell you that. I mean, you try to come to the Bahamas. You talking about you get some fire for $15, 65, $75 anywhere.
Yeah.
That's anywhere. And that's what we're doing. That's what the market has come to. Yay, we embrace it. We know that we are here for the long game. We are not just here because we trying to sell to make money. We understand our place in this industry. Like I said, 1,000 milligram gummies is $16. We you're just doing things that just make it eco-friendly and sustainable for our communities.
So I know that given your experience in Oklahoma, you've started a consulting business to help other cannabis entrepreneurs launch their businesses. What are some hiccups that you see entrepreneurs make when they're opening up their first shop?
Well, I, I tell you this. The the mindset on what it actually looks like to what it actually is, I think that changes the game. You thinking that, man, it's so easy. You just gotta do that and we straight. I think not being so many people, even like I said, who have done it in the Caribbean, even in the Caribbean, it's like we know that this has been a structure, but they are now added the regulatory system and the framework behind it now, with tags and
Mhm.
making sure everything is placed in order, and being able to do many things, even with security, uh, transportation. All of that is something new. And so, just helping them understand that there's a collective group. That's why I jumped ahead of the game and I tried to put enough of us in one box to be able to spread this information. Because I don't think that I should hold back the information I have. I think that I should spread it enough so we could sustain our market, so that all of us could be at a level that makes enough for cannabis, and we don't have to be throwing this low price at this person, throwing that low price. I think it should be sustainable. And in doing that, I think that we should become a community that understand, that talks to each other, that communicates, that tells us, hey, I've been feeling this way, the crowd has been moving this way, and we understand the market to be able to keep it sustainable.
Yeah. So you mentioned that a lot of entrepreneurs have an idea in their head that it's going to be one way, when in reality, it's not necessarily what you plan out.
Well, don't even talk about the inspections. Talk about the licenses and waiting on this and the inspector, this city inspector to come. The delay in this emergency sign is not where it's supposed to be. Oh man, and it gets hectic. It gets wild. It gets crazy, and you want to give up. You really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's so true too. It's so true. There's so many things that it takes for you to open up shop. Do you recommend, and I see this a lot, I see entrepreneurs, they there's a huge dopamine rush in thinking that your store needs to be perfect. And you plan for this shelf, that shelf, and next thing you know, you're spending a lot more money than you need to opening up shop. What's your recommendations in terms of having the right budget in place when you're opening up, yeah, your first shop?
Well, I think you do your research, hit the ground. If you, and that's where community comes from. That's where you locked in with the community, because you start talking to different growers, and you figure out that some growers could do many things on consignment. It's many. That's kind of when you ask what we did. We figured out in our game that we were we figured this. I mean, some growers gonna hate me for this, but you need me to sell your buds. I don't need your buds. You need me to sell your buds. And when we figured that out, it's like, hey, I'm gonna sell your buds, but you need to relax on the pricing, on the adjustment where I feel like I'm being pressured to do this. Like you need me to do your job. And so we figured that we had that leverage on growers. That hey, I could sell it for you, but just know you're gonna get your money afterward, and I got your money.
Got it. Yeah, that's so true. Because you're really an integral part of the supply chain. Without you guys, nothing moves.
Tell me about it. And like I said, because it became something where you had growers. They always stop by the store. Sometimes you had 3 to 4 of them a day, three
Yeah.
or four of them a day, and everybody want to show you something. And it became like, hey, you interfering with my customers now because you trying to show me this, and I trying to deal. I already got a couple of staff in here, so I don't need you trying to hold me down over here, and it ain't gonna work. And
Hmm.
so that's what we started saying. Listen to me. You leave a card, leave a sample, we get back to you.
Yeah.
Just leave it right there. We made a basket right here.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, understand that we gonna control this because
Hmm.
we know what we're doing. In order to be a part of this team, let's help each other do what we need to do. And by helping that is knowing that, hey, I'm gonna give you your money right after we sell these buds.
Hmm.
And it
That's
worked.
tight. That's because that helps so much in the cash conversion cycle.
Worked.
Yeah.
And that was a part of the turning point. That was part of it.
Mm.
We figured out that we had that power. We had that power, and it worked. So we was
What?
getting
Sorry, before I let you go, I know that we're almost out of time. What are some really cool projects that you're working on that you can share?
well, like I tell you, the Bahamas is my baby right now. I'm full force down here right now. Actually, that's where I'm located right now as we speak. Like I say, touring the Caribbean, being a part of my brothers and sisters. This is something that I think many of us we couldn't imagine that we'd be at this standpoint in our lives right now, but we're doing it. And I tell you what, I have seen the California, I have seen the Colorado of the Caribbean. I've been there. I've been in Antigua. I've been now many times in Jamaica, the establishing country of cannabis in the region. But there's many more that has established themselves, like Barbados, who has just last week actually opened up their first dispensary. So I mean, there's so much countries, even like St. Lucia, Grenada, the Bahamas. Oh man, Trinidad and Tobago. The Caribbean is excited about cannabis. We have been excited about cannabis, I think, before you guys even were excited about cannabis because this is our soul. It's in us. It's within us. We have people who have been doing it for years, who have been fighting the fight, the activism in themselves, who've been even in Rastafari, even who created the word ganja. So even in that state of cannabis, the Caribbean is excited.
That's amazing. I'm so happy for you guys. It's when you think cannabis, you think the Caribbean, and it's amazing that things are finally coming
Finally.
together from a legal
Now,
perspective.
we still waiting on the federal government to change it up to Schedule 1, so we could be able to have some more footing and do some more business in the United States and do
Yeah.
some more trade. But like I said, I think the Bahamas, as we get on board, I think that we're going to be expanding regions. I think that a lot of the export that coming down from south that is going to come to the Bahamas, and we're going to be able to be a transshipment for them to sell their buds to the United States to sell, to continue to sell to even Canada, because you have Jamaica who has a shipment going to Canada on an
I
often
would say
basis
that's what I
now.
was gonna say. Canada, you guys can trade with Canada. It's federally
So
legal here.
yeah, and they're actually a part of the CARICOM nation. So I mean, it works hand in hand, and we're trying to figure it out. And as we do, we hope that we have your support. We hope that we have your country's support, and we hope that you guys can hurry up and federally legalize it for us.
Glenn, before I let you go, where can our listeners find that book?
Well, so that was a whole holdup. We figured out that I wanted to get it more groundwork. So actually, in September, I'm getting ready to launch it on Amazon and launch it on my website to be bought and shipped out to everyone. But right now, what I did and what I do normally do, as I carry a handful of me wherever I travel to anywhere, and I just sometimes just be a blessing to others. I just, hey, you get to start talking to people. People ask you what you do, and as I feel them out, and I feel that they actually love cannabis or have a liking towards cannabis, or know someone who actually does, I say, hey, I'll take a book out my bag. Hey, be a blessing. That's me.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
when people grab it and the illustration in itself, when they look at the illustration, like what he's talking to the plant, because that was the plant. That's the name of the book: Cannabis, the Plants, the Myths, the Truth. So you wanted to talk to the plant to be able to know about the plant, to know about what all the bad things they said about the plant, and now, hey, plant, tell me the truths about you.
I mean, Let me know when Let me know when it launches. We'll let everybody know, and I'm definitely gonna order a copy. I It wasn't too long ago when I learned about terpenes, and it blew me away because before that, you talk about hey indica, sativa,
There you go.
hybrid, dominant, and when that's not really the truth, it's really the terpenes, and the terpenes tell the story of what you're
Tell
gonna
us
feel.
all the notes.
Yeah,
This is out in the Caribbean right now. We got mangoes, the Mercian that is dropping everywhere right now. So, you know, after a good blunt, after a good smoke, you go right there and eat some mangoes up. Intensifies.
yeah, yeah,
Very crazy.
yeah.
So awesome.
No, and I recently just found that out too. It
Black pepper, and that's the thing. What makes me say, hey, go do your research, because these things that we talk about, that are in these different chemicals that are in cannabis are in other plants or in other foods that we eat on a normal basis.
Hmm. Yeah, the terpenes,
So,
right?
exactly. So, come on, tell me something. Tell me something.
It's amazing to me that we have receptors for the plant, endogenous receptors. So
2-AG
that's
anandamide, you see molecular shapes. I mean, come on. I mean, what else do we need to say that we didn't know that cannabis is going to do the job that it's going to do, and why they have demonized it for so long?
cannabis to me is like it's like avatar shit. You learn about the
There
plant,
you go.
you learn about the plant's connection with the body and how the plant actually grows. That's some magic.
We're living, and guess what? We're living in a time that we actually could pull
Yeah.
more information from it now.
Um, we're out of time. I know that you have to run. Before I let you go, how can our listeners find you?
Well, you could find me. So I tell people just type my name in. My Gerber name is Glenwood Ferguson. You type my name in Google, you see all my social media, everything that you could figure out about me. But if you're looking for me on social media, my name is Wood the Cannabis Doc. That's WoodTheCannabisDoc. So yeah, Wood the Cannabis Doc all across the board. That's me. Hey, I'm willing to collab. This is what I'm doing. I travel the world. I capture it. I bring it back to my people to be able to digest to see what great things cannabis is doing around the world.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tommy. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. Kudos to the team for getting this. I know we've been trying to coordinate this for a while, but I really appreciate you guys locking me in and having me on your show, man.
This week's Bud Tender Spotlight goes to Christian Baker from the Herbury Dispensary in Washington for taking care of customers every day, making sure they are heard and that they leave the store feeling good. He's a light of positivity every single day. Great job, Christian. If you'd like to nominate a Bud Tender, check out Kaya Push's Bud Tender Spotlight campaign. I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to the KayaCast podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast in your favorite podcast app or visit our website to access the full archive of episodes from the show.